Hello and welcome today to the Proving Grounds. Today, we're being attacked by the Skaven from the Warhammer universe, and it is a hell of a battle. So, this is Warhammer Vermintide End of Times. This is a spin-off of the Warhammer franchise. Now, I'm not incredibly familiar with a lot of Warhammer, but I actually know a little bit about the Skaven, because I actually have a PS1 game that actually has the Skaven as one of the main foes. But, so, to put in the most simplest terms, if you've ever played Left 4 Dead, you're going to feel right at home. So, instead of zombies, you have whack people, the Skaven, humanoid whack people. Now, this isn't so much about guns, but more about melee, though all characters have ranged, and there are 5 distinct characters that can have unique playstyles to them still, even though it's a lot more melee based. You have the Witch Hunter, who is the character I primarily played through the game as. They usually wield 2 pistols or a Gatling type gun as their range weapon, but can vary a bit, and have a few select melee weapons such as axe, rapier, a 2-handed sword, and a few other goodies. Everyone has several options, is I think something you gotta keep in mind, that you can design the characters differently from what may stereotypically seem normal for them. The Witch Hunter usually plays as your support character to help gun down far distance things and assist the group, usually, is his role. You got the Way Watcher, who is a ranger, who was also more of a support character, usually having a few different types of bows, and they can dual wield daggers, a sword and dagger, and I believe they also have a 2-handed sword and some other stuff. There's a lot of different weapons. A few I haven't even gotten before yet so far. But they kind of fulfill the similar role like the Way Watcher, help assisting shooting targets in the distance, not necessarily being in the front. The Dwarf is mainly a tankish type character role, while they can be more in the melee route because they can get a shield combo or focus on different single 2-handed weapons like 2-handed axes and hammers and things. Again, depends on your playstyle. Now, their ranged weapon is usually several rifles or shotgun-esque type guns, or usually the type of weapons the dwarf wields. Then you have the Empire Soldier, who's the other type of tanky character in this, who can also have a shield combo weapon, or they also have several 2-handed weapons like the 2-handed hammer, which is actually what my current soldier wields, a epic 2-handed hammer, which is a mighty blowing weapon, but in my opinion it's way too slow for the giant hordes you get. So if you go that route, like, you usually want the dwarf to be tanky then, but you can design them differently, and I enjoy the Empire Soldier and dwarf more as tanks myself, but, you know. And then the final character you have is the Witch. Now, the Witch is a little different. While all the other characters have a limitation to their range, you know, the Witch Hunter and the Way Watcher will usually have maybe, like 50-something ammo, usually averagely on most of the things. It depends on the quality and the traits and such, and we'll get on about the traits the other bit after I get through the characters. But the Sorceress, she has essentially infinite ammunition, but instead of having a limit on ammo, she has a cooldown on her magic. Her staff is her ranged weapon, and as she uses it, she slowly sets herself on fire. She slowly starts to burn. Now, until it overcharges, you don't take damage. But when you overcharge, you lose control of yourself and start taking fire damage. Very heavy fire damage. So it is a system of adjusting how often you're doing stuff with the witch than a case of having so much ammunition. So the witch can be useful if used properly. On top of that, the witch also has an option to vent, which is an ability no other character has, which allows her to cool down the flames. But this too also hurts her, but at a very small fraction of her life, but it still hurts her, and it's usually in your better interest to try and naturally let it cool down. But in extreme emergencies, you could use venting to try and overdraft a few extra casts, as her heavy charge can do area effects or lunge giant fireballs to assist in large groups. And depending on the situation, it may be the better option. Like in a beat-em-up game, it might be a better option to use your special at a little cost of your health versus taking all the extra damage you may take. So there's a lot of decision making in it. Melee-wise, the witch has a lot of enchanted weapons, like a flaming sword and such, that can also add fire effects to enemies. Now, all the weapons have traits and qualities. You have the white quality that has nothing, it's just that weapon. Then you have green that has one trait, blue that has two, orange that has three, and then there are red quality weapons that I don't even have. You have to play at least Nightmare at a minimum to have a chance to get one. Now, from what I understand, I had to read up about these. So be aware I'm not fully knowledgeable on them, because the articles I could find on Steam related to these were from 2017. And looking through the updates on PlayStation 4, it mentions an update saying that there was a second set of traits you can unlock at the Forge on the PS4 version's update list. So I'm a little conflicted because the Steam topics mention that you can't change the traits, but that one note in the PlayStation 4 updates lists that there is something to get from the Forge now. So apparently they have a pretty negative reputation on Steam, because you can't, apparently, at least at the time of 2017, you can't change the traits or anything, which you can do for the other weapons. You can roll to try and change traits to better things that you prefer, and even adjust the percentages. But apparently they will preset with the design of what the devs consider the optimal way to play each character, which obviously, since there are a few different ways to play the characters, may not necessarily meet what you personally prefer. So certain weapons were selectively considered pretty good, but apparently most Steam users just consider them fodder for materials. So you do have quality materials as well, white to orange, and you use those to unlock traits, take rolls on changing the traits, increasing the percentage on traits, and traits can vary a lot. You can get percentage odds of getting health recovery, replenishing ammo from attacks, getting small buffs from, say, like random, like you hit an enemy, you get like maybe a 5% chance to just suddenly stop moving faster or doing more damage. There's a lot of different buffs, and certain ones I like only seen recently. Like Matt actually got a trinket that gives like a chance of duplicating an item. When he picks it up, it leaves that item, but he still picked it up, leaving it for someone else to pick up. There's a lot of useful, interesting traits. And why on trinkets, by the way? Trinkets are accessories. You start out with one, and you unlock two more as you level up your character. Leveling also doesn't give you any actual additional strength or anything. All it is just a way to like get a chance at a new item or something. Every time you level up, you'll get a weapon drop of certain quality depending on how high up the leveling ladder you are. And you'll start out getting white, and you'll walk up to getting better quality as you get higher levels. So your level really doesn't dictate anything outside of pretty much how much you've really played, but not necessarily your skill, because, you know, you could easily get super high level if you just keep playing and playing and playing. But a lot of games, a lot of the late games, like, we play value comes from getting better weapons and going to higher difficulties. Like, me and Pixie have been going through most of the maps on hard, and it's going alright. We actually got to try Nightmare once, because somebody actually had Nightmare unlocked and was able to take us through Nightmare, and boy, Nightmare was really fucking hard. Like, one regular whack hit can take two, like, you look at the health bar and they'll cut up into sections. Like, one regular whack can take 2 bars off in Nightmare. That's, and you're getting, you know, like, waves of, like, 50 plus whacks at times, depending on hordes and situations that are going on the stages. Now, the whacks do borrow a lot of similar elements to Left 4 Dead. Like I said, this has a lot of familiarity to Left 4 Dead players. You get hordes just like the zombies in Left 4 Dead, and there are a few special not zombies, special Skaven that imitate a few of the specials. Now you got the Guttlewat, who is like the hunter. He leaps around and can easily pin you down, and he is one of the primary reasons you don't want to wander away from your group. The Packmaster is also similar to the Hunter. He is essentially the Smoker from Left 4 Dead. Unlike the Smoker, though, the Packmaster has to actually get near you. What he does is he takes his staff and wings it around your neck and drags you away from your group to try and hang you up to be killed and go get another teammate if he hasn't been killed yet. Now, he's a little different, like I said, because he's not actually ranged. He has to get up to you, where the Smoker was kind of like a sniper-esque, but they do the same job. Now, when it comes to some of the ones that... Oh, and the last one that's really similar is the Wat Eagle. I think it's pretty self-explanatory if you've ever played Left 4 Dead, but it's a giant rat that does a lot of damage and it's hard to kill, especially on higher difficulties. He can be very annoying in higher difficulties by a lot. Now, ones that aren't so similar, so there's the gas rat. The gas rat, it's kind of like the what was she called in Left 4 Dead 2? The one that spits acid. He shoots a poison cloud instead. Now, you might think that sounds a little like the Boomer, but the Boomer doesn't hurt you when he vomits on you. He just summons a horde to you because of the vomit. But the gas actually hurts you. In higher difficulties, it's actually pretty harmful, really, too, to be honest. And then you have the armored rats. The armored rats are very well armored, and depending on your killer's weapons, as some weapons actually have armor penetration, it can penetrate armor. If you don't have this, you need to go for a headshot. Meaning, say you're not so good with headshots, you may have to help your teammates take it out. Because sometimes, depending on the situation, it can be a little, you know, little difficult, maybe, to aim for that head while you got 50 other rats trying to fucking hit you and curb stomp you into the ground. Now, there is one more special rat, but this rat doesn't actually fight you. The sack rat. The sack rat runs away. They have a sack, and they're very easy to tell because they will go, "Mine! Mine!" very, very loudly and make themselves very well heard and easy to tell. The pack rat, the sack rat can have several different goodies among healing and bombs and such. They can also have the dice that give you extra chances at better equipment at the end, and we'll get into that. So, I did mention there are bombs. There are 2 types of bombs, and there are also 2 types of potion and 2 types of healing items. The 2 different type bombs, one's good for, like, hitting a exact target with a lot of damage with a small radius, and then one that does a lot of fire damage in a large radius. That's good for hordes. On potion ends, you got speed potions and strength potions. Strength makes you temporarily stronger. Speed makes you temporarily faster. Both of these can have their advantages in different fronts. The strength potion obviously being good for situations like needing to deal with the wad ogres or any specials that you want to quickly hack through with some good strength. They can also, in missions where you have to break something, actually do more damage using a strength potion, while at the same time using a speed potion makes you faster, where you can deal your attacks at a much faster rate, or hit a target thing that you're trying to deal damage to much faster. And then your healing items. You have a med kit, which is pretty much exactly like a med kit from Left 4 Dead. You can heal yourself, you can heal others, but you have healing draughts as well. Now, a healing draught is a drink that you can only consume, and if nobody has free inventory space for a healing item, you can't heal them or give it to them. And you can freely change bombs, potions, and healing items among your 4 teammates as long as they have the slot open. On top of that, there are 2 more types of items to note that are in most stages: the tomes and the grimoires. Tomes, if brought to the end stage, give you bonus rolls and such at better items, and grimoires will also give you better dice as well, but there's a big difference. The tome takes up your healing slot and can be freely exchanged. The grimoire, however, is much different. Taking a grimoire will take up your potion slot and will punish everyone on your team by taking about a 25% section of your health. You can throw away the grimoire and get your health back. However, you cannot pick up the grimoire again. Well, you can freely exchange it, like, you know, it's like, here's healing item, heal, then pick the tome back up. In higher difficulties, these will give you much higher odds of getting better loot in whatever particular difficulty you're in. But if you're on higher difficulties, you're going to have a harder time because you'll have less resources, or even being punished with health because you picked up the grimoire and you decide to carry it to your destination. So you'll have to make those kind of calls where you just go with the normal loot, or where you go for a better chance dice to get better loot. It's a decision you'll have to come up with. So the AI is something I really want to congratulate this game on a lot. If you played Left 4 Dead a lot and played with and without bots, you'll know the bots on Left 4 Dead are pretty stupid. They'll waste a healing item, which sadly that's something that your AIs in this will still do to a certain extent, but I do feel they're a bit less wasteful. But they also wouldn't pick up pills or use pills, so you couldn't do anything in that front. They won't help with Molotovs and the pipe bombs. Now, the AI will not use bombs or potions. However, they will pick them up and give them to you. Meaning, if, say, like, I'm playing the game with 3 bots, I have 3 extra bombs and potions in the reserve, because once I use mine, they'll give me one they're carrying. So, you can still at least take a lot of supplies with you, even though they won't strategically use bombs and potions. You can still benefit from them, which is a nice little thing. The bots also are a little smarter with health items. Like, for example, let's say we're all damaged to a certain extent, but I'm damaged the most. So the bots won't use their healing item unless they're vastly lower, and they will top prioritize you over them. But let's say we're all like about halfway, but I'm a little more damaged. If I heal myself and pick up, let's say we find a chest with 2 healing items, I pick up one and I point out the other one, they'll actually heal and then pick up that healing item to not leave it. Unless they're really topped off, they will usually actually heal and then pick up the new healing item, the one who has the less health. And pointing out items, actually, I didn't even mention that. So, a very nice mechanic I like in this is you can point out upon things like those ammo or special, a special, a special watch. You can point it out with R1, and it will be highlighted to everyone with a blue outlining, making it very clear. It's like there is something of interest, healing, or a special enemy everyone needs to be aware of. So you can easily be like, everyone shoot the living crap out of that special wat. Oh, hell, I need a healing pack. And I think it's a very, very nice thing, because if you're either playing with people who aren't talking to you, or trying to get the computer to do certain things, to pick up bombs and that, you can do that to get them to, well, do it. To get done. But pointing out special Skaven for your teammates, especially when you're playing with humans, is especially helpful. For your snipers, of course. It's like, you know, it's like, there's the fucking Gatling gunner, and go shoot the living crap out of them. Oh, you know, I forgot to mention the Gatling gunner. Fuck. The Gatling gunner. The Gatling gunner's another special. I forgot to mention him. Fuck. He actually carries a giant Gatling gun and shoots the living crap out of you. He actually will only shoot at one person now, meaning other people can flank the Gatling gunner, which is usually what you want to do. But sometimes he can be in like a little small hallway and be like, oh well, nobody can really get to him because he's just shooting down the hallway. But yeah, I do give the bots some points, because they're much more better than the Left 4 Dead's. While it still could have used a few more improvements, they actually will take the time to try and dodge, help you up, and such. Now, similar to Left 4 Dead, there's only so many times you can fall on the ground before you just die. So you can fall on the ground, get picked up, and fall on the ground, get picked up one more time, and after that, if you lose all your health, you die. And again, similar to Left 4 Dead, after so much time, there's a rescue point where you can rescue the person and get them to rejoin the game with about half their health. And this element becomes much more important in higher difficulties, because you're going to have vastly less healing materials, so rescuing people becomes such a bigger thing in the higher difficulties. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no limit to how many times you can keep rescuing someone. You can just keep rescuing them over and over, as far as I can tell. But to be fair, I never had a situation where I had to sit down there and just keep rescuing someone so many times. Now, level-wise, if you were an original player of Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, you probably know that the games did not have a lot of stages. They had very little DLC and only a few base stages. They didn't add a whole lot. Now, when you're playing on PC for Left 4 Dead, you know, there's a lot of fan-made stages. But I mean, in the actual game itself, the game by the devs. And there's more stages than Left 4 Dead, I'll give it that. And there's a mixture of short and long stages. You got stages that are what you would averagely expect, you know, usually taking around 30 minutes to complete one stage. And then you got these short instances where you have like a goal and you're just in a small arena. Like one of the first ones I believe you get are where you have to load up the boat with black powder. And you just have to go and collect all the black powder and drop it in the ship and then leave. Just a small little dock area, and you get a horde here and there and everywhere. And I think that's a nice mix, because sometimes, like, if you want to, like, grind for weapons, the short stages can be very useful for that. Or you want to have some fun with your friends, you know. You got the longer stages and the storyline and that. Overall, though, I would say it still feels kind of short to modern standards. Like I said, comparing it to Left 4 Dead, it's vastly longer. Has more base stages. And on top of that, of course, in our modern age, they added DLC, which there was more DLC. And you can get a complete package that comes with all the DLC on Steam and PSN and Xbox. But the problem I would have with recommending any of the DLC is Vermintide 2 is a thing at this point in time, so there are vastly smaller player bases. There are, for play, like looking on the Steam forums, there's topics saying, that I can't really find anyone playing and shit. And on PS4, at this point in time, I usually can see about 5 to 10 people usually playing at most times on PS4. I can't speak for the Xbox though. That's you may have to research on your own, but it is on Xbox. And like I said, you can play with the computers up to hard. After that, it gets really, really difficult to have the AI companions. Outside the normal stages, though, there are two other things, or well, one other type of map, but there are two of them. These are basically horde mode maps, and I've never seen anyone ever playing them. I've tried them a few times. I've never gotten past either one. You can earn materials from them, and it's like you're probably better off just doing a short map and getting weapons to either fuse or melt down for materials than to do those unless you get a really good team and get really... I would imagine if you get really far, you'd get a lot of material, but I've never gotten past like wave 12. It gets pretty tough, and the AI is not very good for the horde mode. It's just not. Just not, in my opinion. You definitely need a team. But you'll find a little hard pressed finding a full team of people all the time, especially when you want to move on to harder stages or harder modes, since most of the people I usually see are playing Act 1 missions and not necessarily playing Act 2 and 3s. Now when it comes to the story progression, the original final mission was called the White Rat, and through updates they added a new final mission before Vermintide 2 came out that connects Vermintide 1 and 2 together, and that is the new official ending for Vermintide 1, but that is not on the physical disc if you're going the physical route. If you do get the physical disc, you do get the Dungeons DLC. I'm not sure if that was free through an update or if that was a DLC the physical PS4 version has. I'm not quite sure. I couldn't exactly find the answer to that. Sadly, looking up Vermintide 1 brings up so much Vermintide 2, and it's very annoying to look up certain things. But I couldn't find the answer to that, so I'm just going to say if you get the physical version, you do get the Dungeon 3 DLC maps that may or may not have been an update free DLC. But on top of that, I do know one mission that was a free mission you got through the update, and that was the Fool's Errand. So this mission was made for a challenge, and unlocking it on PC is actually completely different on console. So on console, once you go through the story mode, as far as I understand, it just unlocks it. You just get access to it. While on PC, you have to do this insane puzzle in the Grey Wizard's mission to unlock it, and then you can fall into it and activate the mission. So it's much harder just to get access to it in the PC front of it. And it is a very hard mission. It really tests either yours or your team's resolve to get through it. I won't necessarily spoil it, but I'm just going to tell you, it is unlike any of the other missions. The hordes have a extra twist to them, and there are some really strange elements that can be incredibly annoying. One specific portion of it is very annoying because you'll basically, unless you look it up, you'll have to keep playing that portion just to figure out the right pattern of things to do. But I was able to do it with my friend Pixie on easy. On easy. Just on normal is a fucking nightmare for that. It's ridiculously crazy. It is ridiculously crazy. It is very, very crazy. But outside of that, you're not going to find too many extra things outside that unless you dabble in the DLC, and that's going to be a choice up to you, because I didn't get the DLC because there's a small player base, so I'm not going to get much play value out of them, if you get what I mean. But that could be a personal choice. There was actually a interestingly abusive bug in one of the DLC maps. If you want to be a little dory, little wet Cheetle, you know what I mean. Like those Left 4 Dead people crawling down the, skipping half of the first stage off the building and stuff. Those kind of tricks. And there are a few things like that you can find in certain stages, some on purpose and some not on purpose. If you keep a good eye. So other mechanics that are in the game, you have a forge and a shrine. Like I said, you can change traits on your weapons and get materials, and you'll use those to do a few different things. But something else that was added into the game after the game came out was the bounty board. The bounty board is essentially like a daily system. You'll get contracts and quests. Quests will give you rewards like high-tier equipment or customization or trinkets. There's something like right now there's a orange trinket. Let's see. When using medical supplies on an ally, you are healed for 80% of your missing health. Ooh, that's a very nice one. Oddly enough, I was actually getting a blue trinket, one that gives us 60% of missing health. So now I gotta start all my keys all over again for that one. Whoop. So, when you accept one of those, you'll have contracts. Contracts give you different rewards. Keys, which you need a certain amount of keys to unlock a quest's reward. And then materials and buffs. Now, this was not in the base game, like I said. So, you'll always have 2 key quests, and you'll have several material quests. And the shitty thing I have with the bounty board is that it doesn't keep in mind that you may not have certain DLCs. Like right now, the more easier key, because there's always one for a lower difficulty and one for the higher difficulty. And sometimes it can be DLC, and if you don't have it, you're screwed on that front. And then once a week, you'll also get a special contract that is for Cataclysm. If you're insane for that kind of thing. So it can be a bit of a slow process to get enough keys, because you usually averagely need 6 to like 9 keys depending on what kind of quest you accepted. So it can be a bit long depending if you get pretty screwed on the luck. Like this week, a lot of the easier keys were behind DLC, so we kind of got screwed this week a lot. So it's a bit shitty in that front. But that can help you get a few extras. Something else that was also added to the base game through updates was the lore book. This didn't exist originally. It has 210 entries of lore that you can collect throughout maps. You'll find little pages that'll give you snippets about the characters, the history, the background of the lore, the Skaven, all kinds of insane amounts of information. If you're a big Warhammer person, I would imagine this would be probably pretty interesting for you, because, well, it has all kinds of freaking information on stages, characters, the Skaven's culture. I found some of the Skaven culture actually kind of interesting, like learning about the Black 4 Armor Knights, that they're considered a higher society because they'll find Black 4, so they're trained to be well-armed soldiers, while like brown ones are considered a lower class in their society. And you can learn little tidbits like that about the Warhammer universe in Vermintide through the game. But outside of that, that's pretty much the primary gist of what you're getting in this game. And of course, if you're into trophies, achievements, this game has that. It has a platinum, and the DLCs do have some trophies in that. And then there's a mini add-on, because when they did the bounty board, so they added 3 more to as a side trophy list. But you got 3 for the DLCs and that, and you can buy some cosmetics and things if that's your kind of thing through the PSN store. Complaints about the game when it comes to like bugs and things. Like I said, I kind of wish the game would consider if you don't have the DLC and just give you a map that you do have. That's pretty annoying sometimes. In some weeks you get kind of screwed over having DLC show up too often sometimes. Other times I've had weeks where I had a good feral keys I could claim, and other times I got screwed. But as for like bug type things, I've actually been able to clip through the map twice. One was with a guy, like I said, on Nightmare. He actually has a very weird clip on one of the DLC maps. It was the first time I ever got to do one. If the host has the DLC, he can bring anyone without the DLC into it. So that's a nice little thing. If you have a group of friends you're all playing this with, only one of you need to buy the DLC. So it's a nice little thing in that front. But there was one other instance where I clipped through the map in a tunnel. It got really like crowded, and I somehow like slipped through the map. I did a little recording of it. It was very weird, and I fell through the map eventually after wandering around a little bit and died. Luckily, though, it was in someone else's game, so they made it to the end, so I still got a reward for it, but I did die. It was right near the end of one of the sewer levels. Very odd. Some of the Skaven have weird body physics. There was a physics engine for the bodies and that, and sometimes where the bodies like wobble out, like one time there was a head and body that got severed, but the neck was like freaking out, not really realizing that. It happens the most often, in my experience, to the special zombie, not zombies, special Skaven. See, it's that engrossed similarity to Left 4 Dead. Sometimes it'll change Skaven with zombies and zombies with Skaven. But I would say there wasn't too much groundbreaking broken things I've experienced in the game. I do want to mention one thing Matt has had happening to him. I have not had this happen, but sometimes Matt, for some reason, he says his aim reticule, when he like shoots, it's shooting a little below his reticule, and I'm not really sure what's causing that. I have been testing mine ever since that, and I have not been seeing anything weird like that, so I'm not quite sure why that's happening to him. If anyone else is experiencing that, let me know. I'm kind of curious to know if that's something else. I'm not sure what is causing that. He usually plays the Archer, the Way Watcher, but he has said the same thing happens with the Witch Hunter, so I'm not quite sure what's happening in that front. But I haven't really personally had too many problems that I would say are game breaking to me. And on the console front, you can play this game offline. To my understanding, the PC front of this game is online only. So you have to be to the servers on the PC version, to my understanding. But on console, you can play this game offline. So at least you got that. Though, to be fair, I don't know if the bounty board works offline. I'm not quite sure about that. But overall, a really enjoyable game. I had my fun. It's a shame that I didn't get to really play it when it had more of a bustling player base, because I really liked Left 4 Dead 2, and I hope Vermintide 2 has a pretty good player base. I'm pretty blamey on 2 probably for being why there ain't so many people in 1. Probably the only reason there is people on 1 is because it's so damn cheap. But before we go into the price, what did I think of the story? The story is pretty much, all the characters are in this town, and the Skaven attack it, and they're literally wanting it to fucking ruin, and you're just basically hiding out and doing these missions to try and save this damn town in yourselves. But in the end, you find a special Skaven that's behind everything, and you go attack him, and you ruin his bell. But then, like I said, they added additional story, additional mission story that connects directly to Vermintide 2, which I would imagine is where it will likely directly pick up from, or give maybe a little story in from that. But you'll have a rematch with this Skaven. Now, you don't directly really fight this one white gray seal rat. He actually just, in the first mission he appears in, you're just destroying the bell he has that summons Skaven. But in the second one, you do actually kind of attack him, but it's more scripted, and you basically get to the end, and he throws you down in a portal, and it's like, yeah, and that's where Vermintide 1 leaves off. So, I mean, it gets the job done. It's not like something, it's like, oh my goodness, the story is so high quality in it. But, you know, it makes sense for the setting and the universe it's set in, so it works. It works. But what would I value Vermintide? I think it's a pretty good $29.99, or you could just say $30 game, I would say. But lucky for you, well, that's why I would probably value the game, because I wouldn't necessarily say a 60 full-blown game, because they added a lot of stuff over time. So, you know, the game didn't come out with its current form. And of course, you know, they did a lot of bug fixing. I mean, just look at the PlayStation 4's history. They did lots of bug fixing and adjustments over the years. But luckily for you, the price is really cheap. You can, in the used front, you can get this game anywhere between like $5 to $15. And if you have to get brand new sealed for some particular reason, you're looking at like anywhere between like $10 to $20 for brand newish prices on the low and high tier of that. But you can get this game really easy used, pretty cheap, around the $5 to $10 front on the consoles. Obviously on PC, you're likely going to have to wait for a sale if you want a deal. And then of course you get the DLC. Like I said, there is a package for $29.99 to get all the DLC on the console front. I'm not sure how. Let me take a quick look at Vermintide on Steam real quick. See, I would imagine it's probably normally $29.99 or something, I would imagine, on Steam. But let me take a look. So, yep, $29.99 full price on Steam, though it is on sale for $7.49 on Steam right now. And you can get the collector's edition for $49.99, which I would imagine probably has, let's see, you got the ultimate bundle that is normally $80.88. Good lord, there are some fucking crazy ass bundle prices here for some of this DLC shit on Steam. Considering it has a much vastly smaller player base, that's a real shame. Now, I did know somebody on YouTube that actually played Vermintide 1. That's actually what cued me into knowing about the game, because priorhand, I wasn't really into, well, I've only played one other Warhammer game, let's put it that way, so, you know, it's not something I'm immediately going down, you know, so I see him playing and I'm just like, oh, you know, that looks like fucking Left 4 Dead, essentially, more melee-ish Left 4 Dead. So, and when he talked about the game at that time of that video, that was, I don't know, about 3 years ago, he made it sound like, while it did have a more active player base, he still did sound like it still was kind of an unappreciated game. I think this is definitely a game worth checking out, but at this point in time, because of Vermintide 2 and its age, it's probably likely you'll want to find a few friends if you want to experience it with human players. But being cheap, it should be easy to convince your friends to pick up a copy of Vermintide End of Times. And then you could always go to Vermintide 2, which I'm excited to try out, hopefully soon. But until then, those are my thoughts on Warhammer Vermintide, The End of Times, for the PlayStation 4. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure I'll probably pop back in here once in a while to enjoy it a little bit more again than that. but I look forward to trying out Vermintide 2 in the future. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will get with you. If you feel like you learned anything interesting in this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you learned absolutely nothing, feel free to be that grumpy ass witch hunter and leave some bullet holes in that dislike button. And thank you for joining me today at the Proving Grounds. Until next time, I hope you stay safe out there. Those skavens are scratching at your door.
どうだった？私の作った朝ごはん。